In the first arc of Bleach, we meet every race that the series will later explore, starting from humans to Shinigami, Hollows, and Quincy's. The first arc hints to this with Ichigo being a human Shinigami, but we later meet even more hybrids throughout the series. People composed of different races using the power of these races to amplify their strength. The Vizars, Fullbringers, and even the Hollow Quincy's that we meet in the war. This video will be explaining these hybrids and analyzing which one is the strongest while discussing hypothetical hybrids that we didn't see in the series. The first kind of hybrid that we meet is in the first arc with Ichigo being a human and Shinigami hybrid. This kind of hybrid gives the person two kinds of bodies, one composed of Kishi and the other Reishi. Besides this, the hybrid would be no different from a full Shinigami and having to learn how to properly wield their Zanpakuto and learn the four fighting arts of a Shinigami: Kido, Zanjutsu, Hakura, and Hoho. The next hybrid we meet in the story is actually in the first arc as well, with a human Quincy hybrid in Uryu. This of course gets revealed retroactively in the war arc, but it still applies nonetheless. In the culture of the Quincy who are purists, there are two kinds of Quincy. The pure-blooded ones, referred to as an ex-Quincy, and a Quincy with mixed ancestry being referred to as a Demesh Quincy. Being a Demesh Quincy makes it much harder to learn Quincy arts such as Hidden Hyaku or Blut, as these come naturally to ex-Quincies. This is the general rule, but there are exceptions such as Ishigo and Uryu who directly come from an incredibly strong ex-Quincy lineage. Besides having to learn these arts, there isn't much of a difference from being a pure-blooded Quincy besides discrimination. You'd most likely never get a both funded because you'd be a waste of space for Yuha, only exceptions being Uryu and Ichigo. After that, we get introduced to the Vizards, who are Shinigami possessing the powers of Hollows. In the series, this occurs due to Aizen's experimentation of trying to close the gap between both races. We get shown that by using Hollow Mask, they're able to augment their strength and speed, but with a time limit. These Shinigami are also capable of using Zero, a Hollow exclusive ability. This form of hybridity increases the arsenal of the person, as if they aren't adept at Kido, something that needs to be learned, they can simply rely on using Zeros, something that comes naturally for Hollows. Not only that, but this hybrid can stack their Bankai and Resurrection on top of each other, greatly boosting their power by at least 25 times. It's something we sadly don't see in the series, as the Vizars only want to tame their Hollow instead of accept it, while Tosen accepted his Hollow powers, but decided to also relinquish his Shinigami power. This is why, unlike Tosen, the Vizars have a time limit for their masks. They can easily increase their speed even more by utilizing the Hollow Art of Sonido with their Shumpo, and they'd have better defense by utilizing Hierro. The Lost Agent arc introduces the Fullbringers, humans with the powers of Hollows. The general rule for such a thing to occur is for a hollow to have attacked a woman while pregnant, and the lingering hollow Reiatsu mingles with the unborn child. There are of course exceptions that we see in the series, where Chad and Orihime get their full-brain abilities from the Hogyoku rather than the outlined way. Being a full-brainer leads to a unique situation where instead of humans simply having hollow abilities, they develop their own general ability of manipulating souls of inanimate objects, which in turn actually leads to full-brainers being classified as their own race. To move around, instead of using the hollow art of Sonido, they manipulate the soul of the ground or air to move themselves at high speed, and by increasing their speed, they can in turn increase their attack, but they possess no direct art to do so. If a fullbringer has an affinity towards a certain item, the item's form gets altered, giving the fullbringer a unique ability. These abilities vary greatly in strength and what they're capable of, making the fullbringers a mixed batch in terms of strength. The final hybrid that we see in the story is a hollow Quincy hybrid, but more accurately, an Arrancar Quincy hybrid. This distinction for this kind of hybrid is important, as hollows are poisonous to Quincies, and so a hollow possessing the powers of a Quincy will lead to soul decay and death. But as Urahara explains, the Ryatsu of an Arantar isn't the same as the Ryatsu of a Hollow, making an Arantar possessing Quincy abilities possible. But in the same statement, Urahara explains that if an Arantar uses the Resurrection, the Ryatsu reverts back to Hollow Ryatsu. This makes it so that an Arantar can never use their Resurrection again or they'll die. They'll also definitely never get the power up of the Quincies in a Volston did, as Yuha is a purist and would never do such a thing. Exceptions for Yuha would be Uryu and Ichido, of course. This makes it a hybrid with no natural power up along with fullbringers. With this hybrid, you can theoretically increase their speed by mixing the hollow art of Sonido and the Quincy art of Hirinkyatu, as well as increasing their defense with the hollow art of Hierro and the Quincy art of Bloodpen. You also have access to Ceros and the Quincy spells of Church and League. A hybrid that we didn't see in the series is a Shinigami Quincy hybrid. Being a hybrid, a Volstundid is already out of the question. Unless you're Uryu and Ichido, of course. So with this hybrid, the only power-up you'd have is a Bantai, which isn't bad. You can increase your speed by mixing Shumpo and Hidden Kyaku while also increasing your strength and defense with Blitz. You can mix the Shinigami art of Kido and the Quincy art of Tertian Lead, although both of these are arts you have to learn. You'd have to affiliate yourself with one side and be forced to only learn one of them. Now, out of all of these, the weakest would have to be a human Quincy hybrid. Being a hybrid, you're set bad by having to learn arts that come naturally to the pure-blooded, and you're not seen as worthy to possess the power-up of a Quincy. You'd simply be relegated to a grunt in Yuha's army. The second weakest would be an Aroundtar Quincy, as you lose the only power-up that you have, but you can at least combine arts to strengthen yourself. Then comes the Fullbringers, who vary in strength as, yeah sure, the strongest Fullbringer, Aura, is a complete powerhouse, but in general, the Fullbringers can't even match up with a Shinigami. Up next is a human Shinigami hybrid, as there's no real difference between this hybrid and a regular Shinigami. That leaves the Shinigami Hollow hybrid as the strongest, since they'd have the power-ups of both races, increasing their power greatly as well as benefiting from the arts of both races, making their arsenal in a fight incredibly vast. At least theoretically. If you reached this point in the video, you might have been screaming at the screen about a certain hybrid, or maybe multiple if you know your Bleach, but I first wanted to address the hybrids that are only two races and not more than that, as it then becomes obvious which is the strongest. The bonus hybrids we see is Jinjo, who is a Shinigami human hollow hybrid. This allows him to have access to Bantai, increasing his speed with Binder Light and Shumpo if he decides to learn it, and he can use Kido along with his Zero if he again decides to learn it. The next hybrids are Yuzu and Karin, who are human Shinigami Quincy hybrids. You might think they possess hollow powers as well, but this isn't the case. White, as a hollow, infects only one person, not multiple. So when he went to Ichido, he stayed there, leaving Yuzu and Karin without any hollow abilities. What Yuzu and Karin are capable of are the same thing as the Shinigami Quincy hybrid that I mentioned earlier, except that now, as a human, if they want to fight, they don't have to leave their Kishi body. They can use their Kishi body to fight as a Quincy, and their Reishi body to fight as a Shinigami. That is, if they ever wish to pursue it, which they most likely won't. Now for what everyone is waiting for, the two people who are every single race, Ichido and Hitone. Being every single race, they can stack their Bantai and Resurrection. They can increase their speed times 4 with Shumpo, Sonido, Binder Light, and Hidden Gyaku. They can increase their defense times 2 with Hierro and the Offensive Blut, or power their Bantai and Resurrection with the Offensive Blut. Possibilities for these two are endless, but it's only Hitone who utilizes it, while Ichido mostly just sticks to his Shinigami powers with a little drip of hollowness. But out of these two, Ichido still has the most potential. What matters isn't only the fact that he is every single race, but the aspects of every single race that he has. His Shinigami side comes from the Shiba clan, giving him enormous amounts of Ryoku off of that alone. His Quincy side coming from a strong Ect Quincy lineage as previously stated, and his hollow side coming from an incredibly powerful hollow who was also a pseudo Asauchi, helping boost his already powerful Shinigami powers. Ichido is truly a powerhouse in his own right. Now, if you're at the actual end of the video, have a nice day and hope all goes well for you.